You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Innovation, networking, and exhibitions all in one space. It's another staging of CME's Corporate Mingle. And today we are here at Eden Gardens Wellness Resort and Spa. I'm your host, Amita Pasadweb. Please stay tuned for highlights.
Now, Eden Gardens basically was started way back in 2008. However, we had a relaunch in 2014. Now, in the relaunch of the 2014, this is the present state that it is in. Now, we have what you call, what are the product offering, or what do we offer to our guests? We offer a spa, a fully contemporary spa. So for those of you who don't know, we have a fully contemporary spa that is not just the main, what you may call it, for example, massage and cosmetics and all of that. But a part of our spa has been licensed for therapeutics under the Cannabis Licensing Authority. And as such, we are one of those few persons, if any, that can practice massage therapy and all that kind of therapy, physiotherapy, utilizing the cannabis extract as it relates to persons who come in may have pains, challenges, muscle spasms, stuff like that. We actually have created products. We have 12 products from Medicanja, that is a subsidiary company, that is also used in this process. Now, in terms of restaurant, we have on location 2 of our own restaurant, which is the Tulips. Now, the Tulips is a casual dining, and basically you can come in here any hour of the day from 7 o'clock in the morning right through to 10 o'clock at night, and you can get any food in terms of your regular Jamaican fare or international fare. Then we have the Black Orchid, and the Black Orchid basically is the more, what you may call fine dining, where you can go, sit, and be pampered and treated like kings and queens. We also have a section for events. Accommodation is here. Of course, we have 22 rooms here, but we have also events. We are maybe the premier area for weddings. So those of us who are getting married or having an anniversary or want to have anything to do with a reception as it relates to weddings, we have it here. For those of us who are interested in any corporate events, as you see, the layout here is just one part of what we can do. You can actually walk upstairs. We have a roof setting that basically gives you the view of the entire New Kingston with the kind of beauty that we represent here as in the gardens. We also have a section where we call our suppliers, where we have a group of persons who are into wellness in one form or the other, have spaces here. So we have the Cushite, we have persons with hair, we have a physiotherapist, chiropractor, a nutritionist. They're all here. So what we are doing, we have created an arena, so to speak, of wellness in the tangible and intangible form. And at the back of the presence here, you will find EG Wellness brands. And primarily what EG Wellness brands do is to specifically research and create products that are geared again towards wellness. We have ATs, we have supplements, we have a supplement that is called Alpha Prostate, and that is for maintaining a healthy prostate. We have Women's Complete, which is a multivitamin for women, specifically for the Caribbean women, and we have Men's Complete, and again, that is specifically for the Caribbean man. And the Men's Complete is one of those products that we have what you call the horny goat weed that we do get great reviews on. So Eden Gardens is not just a hotel. It's not just an accommodation area. It is a composite of different, you may call it, product offering that suits individuals as related to health and wellness. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, we're happy to have Corporate Mingle. A lot of the companies that we cater to for meetings and weddings are actually within the New Kingston area. So it's pretty much it's being able to showcase different sides to Eden Gardens, from corporate events, meetings, functions, seminars, and so forth. We do just as many corporate functions as we do weddings. So it's nice to have the corporate community to let them know that, we are here and we are actually expanding, in a development. We will be starting a new development in a matter of months to expand Eden Gardens Resort. So we're really looking to now be able to offer not only accommodations and wellness spa, that kind of thing. We're looking to beef up our capacity, to be able to host larger groups, possibly conferences and so forth.
Well, the expected turnout was definitely met. I think we had a large variation of persons, from different entities, and I think the networking was great. I think it was a good partnership of the different companies, and in all, we achieved our goal was to pretty much get persons together to network and to share the different services.
Corporate Mingle allows persons to come out and share ideas and share mistakes that they already made. So persons can see which path is easier to take or which path is better for them to take in the venture that they're in. So for example, as for fashion designers, there's a different path for fashion designers as it pertains to financial services. There's a different path for persons who are in food than it is for persons who are in cosmetics. So when you come to Corporate Mingle, you get to hear all the ideas that are out there. You get to go back, re-advise your whole business plan. You get to look back at what you have and see if it's meets what the market needs. For the past 7 months, Creative Media and Events have been a part of a lot of expos. So we decided to design an expo for ourselves. So for us to do like a mini expo is for the persons who have businesses that aren't really out there, who don't have advertising space on television, who don't have advertising space on the radio, and they get a chance to come here, set up a whole exhibit and go directly to their consumers. They get a new advertising space, a new place for them to brand themselves and to meet their customers directly.
The CIBC First Caribbean award-winning security features enables customers using their mobile phone to view transactions as they occur, and they can also make credit card payments in real time. They can enable the alert feature and receive notifications once the card is used. They can set alerts based on the transaction types, whether it is international or online, and they can freeze the card if it is misplaced or unfreeze it once it is found. And this is all from your phone. To get this amazing offer, it's pretty easy. All persons need is to take the 3-month statements, the last 3-month statements of the card the balance that you're transferring, and you take in your proof of address. We need your proof of income, which is a salary letter and pay slip. You also need to take in the 3 months bank statements. Persons can go on our website at www.cibcfcib.com, or they may call us at 1-866-743-2257, or they can visit any of the CIBC First Caribbean branches island-wide.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
And welcome back to Business Access TV's coverage of Wealth Magazine's Corporate Mingle SME Mini Expo 2018. I'm your host, Amita Prasad-Webb, and please stay tuned for more highlights.
So Business Access TV's role here this evening, we are the media partners for Wealth Magazine Corporate Mingle. So we are at all the corporate mingles, we are capturing all the activities, and we're ensuring that it's packaged and it's aired multiple times on the station. So for those who were unable to make it here for the actual event, they can catch it another day. So based on the nature of Corporate Mingle, it's a networking event, and Business Access TV gets the opportunity to interact intimately with various businesses right across the industries. So we get the opportunity to get some brand exposure. We are no longer just in Jamaica. We are right across the Caribbean territories in 13 islands on the Flow network, and in Jamaica we're on all major cable service providers. We have grown and we continue to grow as the years go by.
We're bringing a wide range of energy-saving items. We're all about energy conservation, and we're trying to spread the message to Jamaicans that they can use a little less by purchasing energy-saving devices to ultimately save them some money in the long term. JPS has been committed over the last couple of years to productivity and driving growth of the Jamaican economy. And one of the areas that we see where there's a lot of waste is in energy. The energy usage, whether in business or residential customers. So for business customers, we're pushing energy solutions, which is renewable systems, which are a grid-tied system that allows them to stay on the grid, but benefit from the use of the sun. And for our residential customers, is a wide range of energy-saving devices that also allow them to enjoy the things that they like, but to use energy responsibly. And ultimately, that money can be used now for other things that goes into education, recreation, and generally building out their lives how they would want to live it. We've always seen corporate mingles as an opportunity to talk one-on-one, especially with small and micro enterprises. And we will continue to support corporate mingle because we can see it as only beneficial for this country.
What is your main purpose for attending Corporate Mingle?
Certainly the networking. CME has produced, because you've been to other networking events before, but I think I like the method that they use in terms of how they get the people involved, just the whole layout, and just the type of businesses that they get into the space. You have a multiplicity of different types of like for instance for this different MSME sector, which I think is a good broad-based one. And based on what I do as well, it's useful for me to come out and know what is happening with micro businesses or medium-sized businesses. So for me, the key takeaway is the exposure to what is happening in the sector, learning about some of the key players, and building or certainly meeting new persons that you can interact with to help and advance some of what you're doing. So I think that is very, very important. Always being able to keep abreast of what is happening in the sector, who are the players in the sector, how can I interact and benefit, and how can I give in terms of what I am doing to support what is happening in the sector.
JNSBL firstly is the #1 microfinancing entity in Jamaica. We have been around for 21 years, and our function basically is servicing the MSE sector, persons in microfinancing, that kind of thing, persons who are on a small scale business. That's what we do. And we offer several suites of loans. Basically every year we keep on coming up with different kinds of loans to suit each and every unique person or unique business within our corporate or small business sector. And so as it is now, we have our TEF loan, where we basically partner with the Tourism Enhancement Fund, which is a government entity that offers assistance to not just corporate entities, but also to other persons who are trying to do business within the tourism sector. So as it is, we have one of our 5% loans. It's quite awesome, awesome for persons within the tourism sector. So if you're in craft, if you're in transportation, if it is that you are trying to add or to start from scratch building a villa of sorts, we offer up to 25 million for that as well. And so as I said, we partner with the Tourism Enhancement Fund, so it comes at 5%, which is ridiculously low.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life. Delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
So Bumblebee Digital Agency, that's it, we're a digital agency. Very new to Jamaica, we started in July. We're the only ones who really offering Wi-Fi advertising on the JUTC buses, Juta and Tropical Tours. This is really offered in 15-minute sessions, so it's free Wi-Fi to the commuters, and the advertising space is available before. So when the user goes on to the JUTC bus and they access the Wi-Fi by Growth Tech, they receive a splash page that just says Wi-Fi is here, and they complete a form that asks for their age, gender, and email address, maybe telephone number. After they complete that form, they see a 30-second ad. When the 30-second ad finishes, they experience 15 minutes of free Wi-Fi session uninterrupted. Other than Wi-Fi advertising, we also offer social media management as well as other forms of digital advertising. So we're really full service. So once you want to do something extremely creative with your brand, then Bumblebee is here to bring the buzz everywhere.
One of the good things about attending Corporate Mingle is that you get to meet persons who are not normally privy to the Nissan brand, and they tend to not want to come downtown. So it's a way of bringing downtown and Nissan up to this section.
What was your expectation of the evening, and was your expectation met, or were your expectations met?
Yes, handed out a few business cards, met a couple of persons, and looking at some of the booth as well. I actually purchased something, so I'm hoping to get a sale as well. So that's one of the good things about coming to the Corporate Mingle, because you get to meet people and hope to capitalize on persons buying a vehicle. Because even though we only have one vehicle at the expo now, we actually carry a wide range of other vehicles. Come on down to Fidelity Motors, the home of Nissan. We have all 2019 models available. The Nissan X-Trail, we have that in 2 packages. We have our pickup, which is the Nissan Frontier. For commercial persons, we have the 16-seater buses. We have those in automatic as well as a manual transmission. And those are mostly for our Juta customers, so they can come on down to Fidelity Motors.
We have Keyman Insurance, that if you have like a business and stuff like that, you can do insurance for your partner and stuff like that. We also have critical illness because that's the problem right now in Jamaica, right? So we have a lot of 2 products that we actually do critical illness on. Since December, we have actually launched our individual health insurance. A lot of persons were actually asking for that, so we launched that December gone. So we're in the business of doing individual health insurance. Once we used to do group, now we're doing individual. So as an individual person, you can actually come in and sign up and get your card and stuff like that.
Let me add to that. We have plans that fit the needs of all persons, because we have plans that for persons, we have medical plans and we have non-medical plans, right? And for instance, you can't pass a medical. We have a plan that can facilitate that purpose. You have persons who have pre-existing condition, so we provide insurance that everybody can have an insurance policy, whether it's to prepare for your family or it's just for yourself. We have investment policies that you can benefit from, and our interest rate at Guardian is very attractive.
Why did Guardian Group decide to come on Expose tonight?
Well, because to showcase our products for one, and to show the public how much we care for their needs, and we have a variety of products to offer to persons who would like to come and be a part of Guardian Life.
Firstly, I want to say thank you to CME for executing this wonderful event. I think it's an excellent platform for small to large businesses to come by and showcase all their products. Not to mention, it's just an excellent way to network and have a wonderful time on a Friday evening. So my name is Roxanne Wise-Shirley. I'm here at the Corporate Mingle event. I'm here representing the Guardsman Group. We're actually here to showcase our newest product, which is called the Lapo. The Lapo is actually a Bluetooth tracking device, which pretty much can track anything that you frequently lose or anything that you want to find very quickly. So I actually have it here. It's a small device that you can put on your car keys, your house keys, you can put it on your handbag, a laptop bag, your pet, your child, literally anything you can think of that you want to find. So it comes with an app, so you download the app is free, and this Lapo actually communicates with the app. So if you want to find something, all you have to do, go on the app on your phone, you can press the alert, and then this Lapo will start beeping. Not only will it beep to alert you as to where it is, but the app will actually show you exactly where the Lapo is or how close you are to the Lapo. Oh my gosh, everybody loves it. Firstly, there is no other device on the market like this. This is the first time that this is hitting Jamaica. So everyone is just amazed by it, because everybody's like, really? This thing can let me find my phone easily? It can let me find my car keys, you know? So everybody's very, very excited about it. And so we're very happy to get that response. So, I mean, everybody loves it. I mean, I love it. The entire Corporate Mingle seems to love it. And we've already gotten a lot of sales from it. So we're very excited.
What are the functions of the BSJ?
The Bureau of Standards Jamaica is a government agency, and at this point we are seeking to highlight the fact that we are a service organization helping to facilitate persons involved in industry. The first thing that we do, we help to set standards, and in addition to setting standards, we also offer training in a range of standards-related areas, including HACCP, good manufacturing practices, labeling. We also provide testing and calibration services, certification through our national certification body of Jamaica, and the Bureau of Standards Jamaica is seeking to help industry understand the importance of the use of standards to excel in business here in Jamaica and to excel in business outside of Jamaica.
So how does participating in Corporate Mingle help to boost your brand?
Well, certainly the BSJ recognizes, as we have done a bit of rebranding in the last year and a half, and we are less a regulatory body, it's critical that we present to industry and the persons, key players in the industry, what are the services we offer. We are hoping that by being here, many of those persons who participate, who need to access services, will recognize that the BSJ provides testing, provides calibration, and offers training in a range of areas. It really can only help to advance our cause and to improve our bottom line.
Another Business Access TV coverage of the Wealth Magazine Corporate Mingle SME Mini Expo 2018. I've been your host, Amita Pasado, and thank you for tuning in to Business Access TV, serious about business.
Now presenting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund ICDP Enterprise Development Project. Entrepreneurial Grant Business Pitch.
This project is a $100 million grant that's seeking to target 50 small and micro business enterprises and give them training, capacity development, equipment, permits and license towards the development and the viability of their business. We have made a call for proposal in March of this year for entrepreneurs to submit for the opportunity to receive a grant between $1 and $5 million. We received more than 500 applications, and so we have now shortlisted them to 100. So we've invited that top 100 applicants here today, and they're going to have to pitch their business idea to a panel, and of the 150 will actually transpire and win the opportunity for the grants. One of the primary objectives of what we're doing here is employment. We want the business to be able to sustain not only the principals as the owners, but we also want the business to be able to employ at least 2 people. The next part of it, as we do in all of our projects like this, is it provides a learning instrument of how we can engage small and micro enterprises and take them to the next level.
Why we're doing this rigorous process? Because we want to identify the best potential entrepreneurs for this project. And keep in mind that we are speaking about a loan, so we want to ensure that applicants are committed, and that from a sustainability point of view, that upon receiving the support from JSIF, that in 2 or 3 years the enterprises will still be operational and the broader objective of the project would be achieved. Once we have now equipped them and they should be ready to start their production line going, we'll then have a mentorship component.
It has been a very competitive process. Jamaica is filled with persons with drive and passion. We're expecting that the best will be selected. And then for those who are not successful, we are also hoping to link them to other providers of services, because I'm telling you today, from what I've seen, it is an excellent, excellent, excellent opportunity. It's worthy of note that many persons coming here today already have some kind of semblance of a business, but they need the additional support to move that business to the other level, as well as some persons that come in with just proposals to start from scratch. On behalf of the JSIF, we want to really thank the DBJ and other partners from UWI who came to be part of the panel, and just to remind you that the JSIF is here and we're investing for community development.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
Coming up on Jamaica Magazine.
Pre-planning is necessary for recovery and resilience.
And as we focus on the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season, the call has been made.
Jamaicans should be prepared.
Plus,
our total beneficiary count to include JADEP and NHF is about 818,000 persons.
The National Health Fund providing coverage for 17 illnesses. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stick around for the details.
Motorists, when driving on the road, here are some simple reminders. Look out for and extend courtesy to all road users. Give plenty of room to pedestrians, especially in wet weather. Drive slowly. No bother wet them up. Slow down when approaching a pedestrian crossing or school, and always be prepared to stop. Remember, a school zone is a 30-kilometer zone. Cut your speed. Drivers of large and slow-moving vehicles should always keep in the far left hand of a dual carriageway. Keep it simple. Drive left and pass right. These are just simple reminders of your road duties. Drive safely.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, September 19. Jamaica has completed its sixth and final review under the precautionary standby arrangement with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The review was conducted between September 9 and 19 and will now go to the IMF Executive Board for final approval, making a total of $1.63 billion accessible to the country.
We have worked with transparency. We have worked diligently to ensure that we meet all the targets that we have set for ourselves. And this is a major achievement in our political economy and in our development generally. It was a program that tested our own resolve to be true to our own real economic interests.
During a press briefing at his office Wednesday, the Prime Minister expressed confidence that with the IMF now out of the room, government can maintain the fiscal discipline that the country has committed to over the last 10 years. IMF Director for the Western Hemisphere Department, Dr. Alejandro Werner, agreed.
We are convinced that all these policies will support private sector development and increase investment opportunities in Jamaica that will lead to increased employment, growth, and the continued reduction of poverty in the next 5 years.
Jamaica's precautionary standby arrangement with the IMF started in 2016, replacing a previous 4-year extended fund facility. The current program is scheduled to officially end on November 8. But the country will continue to benefit from technical assistance, and the IMF's Jamaica office will be maintained for an additional 2 years. 12 firearms have been recovered in the St. Andrews South Police Division since the implementation of a state of emergency on July 7. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure during Tuesday's sitting of Parliament. He said there were other notable successes from the state of emergency.
Murders in St. Andrews South Division have reduced by 73%, from 48 murders to 13 murders over the period 7th of July 2019 to the 11th of September 2019, 67 days since the declaration of the SOE, when compared to the previous 67 days. Shootings in the St. Andrews South Police Division have also reduced by 61%, making the similar comparison.
The state of emergency in St. Andrews South will expire on October 5. In the meantime, opening hours are being extended for businesses operating in St. Catherine and Clarendon, which are now under a state of public emergency. For the first 14 days after the security measure was declared on September 5, businesses in the parishes were ordered closed by 9 p.m. But National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says that after consultation with the security forces and the business community, the times will be lengthened.
We have agreed to look at the hours going into it.
I've in fact drafted some hours open to debate, but we are looking at moving the hours from 8 to 10 and in some cases to 11 o'clock.
A similar adjustment for business operating hours in Westmoreland, Hanover and St. James was carried out on August 25. Closing time for establishments in those parishes are now between 10 p.m. and midnight.
The government is, Mr. Speaker, faced with a balancing act. So we agree we have to get it right. But in this balancing act, there's one thing that we are clear on. The right to life supersedes every other right. There is no balancing saving one life with rent, loss of revenue. There's no balance there. You can't equate the two.
Jamaica's bunkering industry is now ready to supply ships with LNG fuel following New Fortress's investment in the industry. Minister of Transport and Mining Robert Montague says Jamaica is moving to become the regional leader in bunkering in the Western Hemisphere.
We are open for business. Bunkering creates some 900 direct high-paying jobs in Jamaica and approximately 3,000 indirect jobs. So it is vital to our economy. We are projecting to get 10% of the ships that pass through the Panama Canal.
The minister was speaking recently at the opening ceremony for the second International Bunker Industry Association Caribbean Bunker Conference. The National Minimum Wage Commission wants engagement from the wider public as it seeks consultation on the minimum wage. The Commission is hosting a series of consultations in collaboration with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security under the theme, Engaging, Listening and Advising. They began in Montego Bay on September 12 and continue with engagements in Portland on September 24. The team will also seek the input of employees and employers in Manchester, St. Anne, and Kingston.
We believe, especially when it comes to persons who are at the bottom tier, to ask them to make presentation and documentation with respect to how they see the minimum wage. It is our experience that we don't see much of that.
And finally, scores of residents in Somerton, St. James and its environs benefited last week from free dental services. The 5-day engagement was held at the Somerton All-Age School, led by a team of 45 professional and student dental care volunteers from the United States of America, Canada, and the Caribbean. They are part of Great Shape Inc.'s 1000 Smiles project, which operates a free dental clinic in Jamaica each year in collaboration with the Sandals Foundation.
Great Shapes has been going around for 16 years in Jamaica, and we are happy to help the people of Jamaica.
Along with cleaning, filling, and extracting teeth, they also go into nearby schools and they educate children, tell them how to practice proper oral hygiene, and they also leave them with resources that will help them in their day-to-day dental care. So it's a great partnership.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Protect yourself from the flu virus. Visit your nearest health center or doctor to get the flu vaccine. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water or by using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid the spread of germs by not touching your eyes, mouth, or nose. And be sure to regularly disinfect surfaces and objects that are used often. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
Did you know that the National Health Fund provides coverage for 17 illnesses? To know how you can benefit and apply for a card, watch this.
When you hear the name National Health Fund, you think of a card that allows certain individuals to get free medication or medication at a reduced cost. But there's more to the agency, as it also supports the development of our national healthcare system.
Right, the National Health Fund was set up some 15 years ago to provide support to healthcare in Jamaica. And at the time, it was thought that the agency would cover some key illnesses in terms of the medication aspect of care. And I think we started with 13 chronic conditions in terms of coverage, and it really provides support to persons, Jamaicans specifically, who have those chronic conditions. We also provide support to public institutions in terms of support for capital projects, supporting health promotion programs, and just generally providing support in great areas of need in healthcare in Jamaica.
Yes, and the direct benefits to us Jamaicans. Who benefits? How can they apply? Let us talk about that.
Right. Well, the NHF and JADEP cards are our major platforms for offering health servicing to beneficiaries. For the NHF card, once you're diagnosed with any of the chronic illnesses listed, and we now cover 17 conditions, I think we recently added 2, sickle cell in 2015 and lupus a few months ago. Once you're diagnosed with any of those conditions, we have our application form. Your doctor verifies you have the condition. You then come into any one of our offices and you get your card within 15 to 30 minutes. Initially, the benefit was mainly offered through our Kingston office, but we have listened to our stakeholders and we now have access to the NHF card on a same-day basis in every single parish in Jamaica. For the JADEP card, it's a card for persons 60 years and above. So once you get to 60 and you are diagnosed with any of the chronic illnesses covered, then you can also get the JADEP benefits.
All right, so the JADEP card is for 60 years, person 60 years and over, but
Yes.
the NHF is for any age.
Any Jamaican, regardless of your economic situation, regardless of your age, once you have that chronic illness, then you can qualify. Then you qualify for the NHF benefit.
Right. About how many persons do we have benefiting now from these two initiatives?
Right. Our total beneficiary count to include JADEP and NHF is about 818,000 persons who are enrolled on these programs. 818,000 Jamaicans.
Right. Can you speak specifically to the illnesses that are covered?
Right. I mentioned earlier we cover
Right.
17
Yes,
illnesses.
yes.
And this is based on the illnesses that most Jamaicans would be affected by. So it includes asthma, arthritis, diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic illnesses, lupus. We also cover breast cancer in terms of the drugs, prostate cancer, and a number of other illnesses.
Right. So in terms of the cancer, you do the drugs, but do you do some of the treatments like chemotherapy or radiotherapy?
No, we only do the drugs.
Drugs.
We actually provide a larger subsidy
Yes.
for those drugs because of the high cost of cancer care. So we provide drugs through our card programs for breast cancer and
Right.
prostate cancer.
Tell us about the costs as it relates to both cards, the different payment
Right.
cards.
Well, for the JADEP card, the drugs are free of cost, except that beneficiaries contribute to the dispensing fee, which is $40 per item, up to a maximum of $240. So no beneficiary will pay more than $240. For the NHF card, it is a different arrangement where we pay a subsidy depending on the illness. It ranges between 40 up to about 70%. We provide a greater coverage for conditions like breast cancer and prostate cancer, where the costs of those drugs tend to be a lot more. And the beneficiaries will then co-pay.
Yes.
And in some cases, they have both the NHF card and the health insurance card, which leads to a lower co-pay, which
Yes.
allows greater access.
Right. So I have a health insurance with a private company and I have the NHF card.
Right.
I can use them together.
Right.
Thank you so very much for sharing with us on the NHF in this week's edition of
My
Get the
pleasure.
Facts.
My pleasure.
It's time to understand more about the protected area of the cockpit country, its boundaries and water resources.
Hello and welcome to OPM Connect, the program that helps you to understand the plans and programs of the government. I'm Naomi Francis. Today we talk the cockpit country. What informs the boundaries? What are the issues and how will the government address those issues? We're pleased to be joined today by Senator Robert Morgan, the Parliamentary Secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister, Marilyn Headley, the CEO and Conservator of Forests, and Mr. Peter Clark, the Managing Director of the Water Resources Authority. A very strong panel here to talk about the cockpit country. Let me start off with the Conservator of Forests and help us understand what is the cockpit country and what informs the boundaries.
Good afternoon, Naomi, and your listeners and watchers. The cockpit country is an area that we identified. We started off the identification with the geomorphological features. So if you look at the map, you will see the area that is karst limestone. That was the first decision made once we identified that this boundary will cover the cockpit country. From then we moved on to say what areas of that will be protected. And with that, the southeastern end, you will see, is degraded karst. So we eliminated that and decided that we would do the protection for the areas above that and covering everything else, and then add some more forests, some close broadleaf forests. So if you look now on the map, you will see the map that shows you the boundary, that the area that will be protected. That area will include all of the karst limestone, except the part in the southeast that goes to Christiana. It then adds the close broadleaf forest to the east, which is the Litchfield-Matheson Run area, and some close broadleaf forest to the west, which is the Fife-and-Rankin area. And then now that moves on to give you the cockpit country boundary, which encompasses initially 74,000 plus hectares. But now as we do the ground shooting, we are up to 76,000 plus hectares. We are finding that there are other areas that we are including just to accommodate the line in a navigable way.
And that's what we call the ground truthing process.
That is called ground truthing. And then after we've done that now, and it is then verified by the National Land Agency, we put it in the permanent markers. And once we have the permanent markers in, it tells you where the boundary will be.
Fantastic. Sounds like an involved process and clearly a process that would not just have emerged overnight. So let me go to Senator Morgan, because it would have been a process that would have taken some time to evolve. Can you tell us about that process?
With various petitions that were launched, discussions accelerated within the government, and all the stakeholders, the Water Resources Authority, the Bauxite Institute, the Forestry Department, the National Environmental Protection Agency, including the environmentalists, business people, young people, representatives on the Partnership Council, which is basically the consultative framework within the government, sat down for many months to discuss and look at the various studies that have been done by Dale Weber, by Paris Lioye over the years, to determine what is the best approach to protect the area that is the cockpit country. At the end of the discussions, looking at all the geological implications, all the ecological and hydrological resources that are there that are important to the country, a determination was made that the proposed cockpit country protected area would encompass 74,000 thereabout hectares of land, which is about 7% of the entire Jamaica. Interestingly, the cockpit country is very rich. Some areas of it is rich in bauxite. And one of the things that we had to do when the proposed protected area was being determined was that there was already a special mining license that exists that encompassed areas that were to be protected. We had to cut that in half, basically.
So some of that area is now in the protected cockpit country area.
So there were licenses that were signed before our government, a long time ago, that encompassed areas that are currently in the protected area, that the government had to make a decision to take away a lot of those resources from the bauxite company to protect it. Because even though as a government we recognize that mining is very important economically, we still consider that protecting the water resources, the ecological resources, the flora and fauna, is actually more important.
It's interesting you mentioned the ecological issues, because we have Mr. Clark here who'll talk a little bit too about the geomorphology that would have informed those issues, that would have informed the boundary situation as well. If you could, Mr. Clark, help us from the Water Resources Authority. Lots of people say there are aquifers in the area. The Cockpit Country, Ms. Headley, as you would have said, covers 5 parishes,
Yes.
very broad area. So in terms of looking at the water channels, help us understand that.
Well, the Cockpit Country provides roughly 38 to 40% of Jamaica's water resources that we have available to exploit, surface water resources. So we have roughly 13 rivers that emanate from the Cockpit Country. All of them, I would say, are all important rivers. Separate and apart from the rivers, there are identified springs and streams. I would say about 19 springs. And another hydrological feature would be the caves and sinkholes. These caves and sinkholes are what are part of the introductory conduit system to bring the water from being rainfall, that is now has become surface water, to eventually be feeding these rivers. So it is recognized that the caves and the sinkholes are important hydrological features as well. The Cockpit Country protected area, in encompassing all of these, now protects these headwaters and source waters, because some of these rivers actually, in response to the matter of the geomorphology, some of these rivers sink and then rise again, sometimes within the same Cockpit Country protected area, and then sometimes outside of the Cockpit Country protected area. So having protected them at their source, it means that at the end of the day, we have protected these, I would say, 13 major rivers within the center to the west of Jamaica.
Let me ask you a very straight up question, which is part of some of the issues that are being raised by persons within the society. Does mining affect the aquifers in the area, any at all?
Well, we have no evidence that mining affects the water resources. The question of aquifers is a little bit, we're getting into a little bit deeper geology now. The water sources and the water movement within the Cockpit Country is not like how you'd have the aquifers on the South Clarendon Plains, for instance.
Right.
Because it's limestone, we have a lot more conduit piping type of flow. Okay, and this is why rivers will rise and sink, because the cavernous nature of the limestone lends itself to that. So a lot of the water, I will admit that I will say that there will be sections where there will be pools of water, for instance, but it's not necessarily, in underground caverns, but it's not necessarily that you have aquifers that you'll be tapping into to for instance, drill into. However, the importance is recognized not necessarily from a drilling or a water abstraction stage, but the importance of this water as it now flows through the conduits to now become the rivers.
Thank you so much, Senator Robert Morgan, Ms. Marilyn Headley, and Mr. Peter Clark from Water Resources Authority. Really a very, very enlightening discussion. We thank you on social media for joining us. Join us again next time for another edition of OPM Connect.
Yo, this is we're committed to reducing the impact of disasters occurring in Jamaica. We're ever ready to assist you before, during, and after a disaster. But everybody have a role to play, so make we work together and follow the plan. Whether rich or poor or where you come from, hurricanes affect everyone, so be prepared. Prevention is better than cure. Be prepared. Listen to ADPEM.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
As the country stands ready to respond to a possible hit from a hurricane this season, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is urging persons in flood-prone areas to finalize their evacuation plans. He also calls on members of Parliament to formulate disaster plans for their constituencies.
Jamaica should be prepared. And I'm saying this bearing in mind what has happened to the Bahamas. Jamaicans should be prepared. And this means stocking up on the supplies that you would need in the event of a storm, your candles, your batteries, your canned food, your water supply, warm clothing. Also, Mr. Speaker, I want to take the opportunity to say to persons who live in low-lying areas or areas that have in the past been flood-prone or have been affected in times of hurricanes, that whilst your property is important, I would think that your life is more important than your property. And so it is wise, now we are in the hurricane season, to start putting together your alternative plans. Make contact with those relatives that you have in safer areas or friends that you have in the event that you have to evacuate. Plan out your routes, your mode of transportation if the worst should happen. Mr. Speaker, we have already started as a government to put in place our response plans. We always have plans in place. The ODPEM and all the agencies that are involved in first response in the event of a hurricane, we always have these plans in place. We're meeting constantly. But given what has happened in 2017, when we experienced 2 Category 5 hurricanes that wiped out entire countries, and then what has happened now, I believe we have to intensify our planning. And I have always held the view that when we were threatened by Hurricane Matthew, that it is important that the Parliament is mobilized. And so I'm urging MPs to start thinking in this way, looking in your constituency to see the communities that may be at risk, start to make contact with them so that they are prepared to move if they have to move. Start the conversation about evacuation and how you will secure those areas that are evacuated. All of those pre-planning is necessary for recovery and resilience.
As we close today's show, we ask that you stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Edwin Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
Violence against women is a violation of human rights. Its impact ranges from immediate to long-term physical, mental, and sexual consequences, sometimes resulting in death. It negatively impacts women's general well-being and can prevent us from fully participating in society. Be a better human being. No more violence against women. No more.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access News Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
This is the 10th consecutive
MSBM Roundtable, where we bring together international experts, senior leaders from the public and private sectors, and academia to discuss topical issues. And if you've been following the Roundtable, going back to 2010, you would have noted that the discussions from this forum have helped to strengthen the Caribbean economies in several ways. Today's theme, as your program shows, is Agile Leadership for Digital Transformation. And as usual, we have our own CEO chairing the function. So your chair for this morning's breakfast discussion is none other, I'm pleased to say, than Professor Dale Weber, no stranger at all to the majority of you in the room.
The University of the West Indies is very pleased, very proud to have the Mona School of Business and Management as the heart of its operation within the Faculty of Social Sciences, where we do the business that allows us to practice what we teach. We train those who go out there to make a difference in the business sector. We train for all aspects. We train at the undergraduate and the graduate level. We're therefore very pleased that we have the opportunity to work with partners when we can have that opportunity, such as today. So the university is built on access, alignment, and agility as our three key focal points within our strategic plan. Access, in that we want to have more students accessing the UWI. We want to have more of the research of the UWI accessible to business. We can do that if we are in the right connection. Enter the second A, alignment. And that is why we're here today. Under alignment, the University of West Indies would like to offer itself as that entity which will allow those public and private sector organizations who wish to have research drive their decision-making process. We would like to be the engine of that research. The Mona School of Business has created in this roundtable opportunity a key component in that alignment, where we would like to do research, but we would like to get the questions from you. So people think about the university and say, we're in an ivory tower. We're over there doing what we want to do. Well, we would like to do what you want us to do. We could have a lot of answers for a lot of questions, but if we ask ourselves the questions, where are we going? So we would like to ask you to provide those questions as partners so that we can provide the research to give you the answers. This roundtable opportunity allows us the key components of that discussion. Finally, under the AAA strategy is agility. Now, the University of the West Indies, we will confess that our wheels turn very slowly. Apart from in the Mona School of Business, where Dr. McBean will not allow us to stand still and keeps dragging us into the next generation. Well, under agility, we would like to do two main things. One, we want digital transformation of our institution, and that I think fits in today with today's discussion in terms of agility and digital transformation. And two, we want to be sure that we are bringing a financial positive to the UWI. Now, what better way to do that than to partner with those of you in public and private sector who are already making that digital transformation? But enough from me, because I don't know anything about business. I know a little about management, so I'm going to try and manage as we move through today's exercise.
We're here this morning to speak about agile leadership for digital transformation. And it strikes me that when we speak about agility or agile leadership, some things come to mind: transformative, innovative, doing things differently, collaborative working. And it is a race that we always run. I've been at this digital transformation in various capacities since the early 90s, which is over 25 years now. And every time we think that we have succeeded, the game changes. So 10 years ago, there was nothing called social media marketing. But marketers that were trained 10, 15 years ago have to not just exist, but thrive in this new world of digital transformation. And there's more to come. We're in the age of machine learning, going to artificial intelligence. I was lucky enough to have started my research in artificial intelligence. I've maintained a more than passing interest. And it's just amazing what we thought we would do 20 years ago is far different from what we're actually doing and where we're going. And I'm sure Murat will speak more to those sort of challenges. So what it means is that we can't stand still. But also we have to get the basics right, because digital transformation in and of itself is not a goal. The goal is, what do we want the society to look like, and how does digital transformation get us there? And it means we have to have a generation of leaders and students who will always be thinking along that path. We have lots of work to do. I would take this opportunity to invite members of the public and private sector to partner with the Mona School of Business and Management and the university as a whole. If all people trained at the university were to stop working for one day, whether directly or indirectly, the country would shut down. We have many CEOs that have passed through the MSBM. I think of Don Webby, for example, who comes to mind. And we are proud of what we have trained. I always make these points when I speak publicly now. While it's important that people are able to function in the workplace immediately when they leave, it's more important that they're able to learn in the workplace and adapt themselves. And that is why we try not to train technicians who are work ready, because it's impossible to do that for the dozens of companies out there. But we promise you we will train people who should be able to adapt to your changing circumstances. And so we invite you to partner with us as we go through these and other initiatives. Our students need help, they need mentoring. The pool and the society is a lot different today. So if you can't contribute, as Mina goes on her much needed fundraising, contribute your time. Mentor a student. We would ask that you look at sponsoring a student, because if we're talking about digital transformation, it means we're in a knowledge economy. And if we're in a knowledge economy, we need people trained to function in that knowledge economy. So as I close, I welcome your support. The university is here to partner with you. Our sole reason is to take global knowledge and turn it into regional and local solutions for our markets. So we thank you for your support. I would like to add my welcome to you to this 10th anniversary, and I look forward to a really stimulating conference. Thank you.
Do you want more experience from your SUV? Introducing the 2020 Nissan X-Trail with leading-edge technology, intelligent ride and chassis control, a round view monitor, and hill start assist for confidence behind the wheel. Plus, auto headlights and panoramic sunroof. Drive the SUV with more experience. The Nissan X-Trail, available today at Fidelity Motors.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Mr. Murat Bisak is responsible for overseeing and shaping the PMI long-term strategy. Is Chief Strategy and Growth Officer of the PMI, supporting the execution of the company's business objectives, increasing the footprint in high-growth markets, and advancing the PMI's capabilities in partnering with organizations in both public and private sectors. And that is why we've asked him to come today. We invite to bring us our keynote, Mr. Murat Bisak.
The world is changing, and it's changing really, really fast. And I have 3 examples here to show you how much it's changing, and maybe you know all of this. The first example on the left is a painting, as you see. It was auctioned last year at an auction house in London and fetched about $300,000. It wasn't made by a human being. It was completely painted by machine intelligence. The beef in the middle is not meat, but if you eat it, it's exactly like meat. You may have tried it. You probably have heard of the IPO Better Burger about last month, and there are a number of companies right now producing beef-like products that are not animal-based, but taste exactly like that. Turns out that public is ready for these types of changes. According to a recent survey, about 60% of the people who were surveyed said that they would definitely buy it as long as the price is right. And on the very right, this is a representation of how the music industry has changed. And we all now listen to music. I'm sure I know every one of you in Jamaica love music. I do too, and we now access it digitally. And of course, companies like Spotify and other companies who have disrupted the music space are looking at technologies such as blockchain to make sure that these contracts between the artists, the lawyers, the public is transparent. The royalties are calculated as soon as possible and distributed, and they use blockchain technology to do that. So 3 very different industries, huge change in each and every one, and essentially every one sector and industry is going through this type of disruption. And I'm here to tell you that this is actually going to accelerate from now on. And the reason for that is because when you look at the S-curve, and I'll show you one soon, we are in an exponential accelerated curve right now because we have computing power that is doubling and more than doubling every year. It's getting much cheaper. Everything is on the cloud, so all information is accessible. And we have built algorithms and programs that can access the cloud for free, get that information, and think. And they do that faster than our brain can. So that's the change that's going on. And it's a little bit scary, but there is also the positive side to this. Now, with all that fear, and I know fear turns the attention, let's take a look at how fast we started adopting these technologies. So you look at, for example, the radio. It took the radio 38 years to reach 50 million users. It took the TV 13 years, iPod 4 years, Internet 3 years, Facebook about a year, and Twitter about 7 to 9 months. So today, what that tells me is that we as human beings are getting more and more used to adopting technology, and the penetration rates are increasing because we are now all connected. We all have these devices. They are much faster and more capable than anything that we've used when we were in school, and we are augmented by them, and we're able to enhance ourselves, and we're okay to accept technology. So that's us as individual human beings. However, when we look at companies, which is the collection of human beings at the end of the day, we don't see that pattern as fast or as easy of adoption. So on the left, this is a busy chart, but what it says is on the left, when you look at AI for example, and ask the leaders whether they agree that AI is a technology that they should use in their companies, many would say, yes, it is. It's a very important technology. Everybody recognizes it. We know it. On the right-hand side of the chart, you see the companies that actually have adopted it. And what it says is most companies actually have not adopted it and are not using it. So there's a huge gap between us as a consumer and us as an organization and our adoption rates. And there's a huge gap between knowing and doing. And that gap is what makes most of these transformations difficult to be successful. Now, the result. This is a S&P 500, actually S&P index. And when you look at from 1960s, on the very left of this chart, all the way to today, and the y-axis represents the average company lifespan on years, you see that the lifespan of companies on the S&P index, these are the leading companies for the most part, is going down. So this is the picture, right? This is what happens when technology is faster than the adoption rate of the companies, and we are going to see this accelerated because we are on an upward exponential curve. As a result, many companies, actually this is one of our surveys, 80% of companies have started or have done a digital transformation. It goes back to the 90s. Transformation is fundamentally about creating something that is really different than what you have today. It can't be incremental, it has to be really different. And when we look at the world, that's what we see. You look at, for example, Tesla, and compare Tesla's stock performance versus Ford. And you would see that their market capitalization is higher than Ford over the lifespan of a significant portion of Ford's existence. The reason is they both make cars, but Tesla doesn't make a car. Tesla makes software. Because if you have a Tesla, you actually are buying a product that updates itself overnight while you're sleeping, because the software update that gets released and downloaded to your car automatically improves the car. That's not a car the way we know a car. Cars used to be designed 5 years in advance, developed and packaged and put in the market. That was a car. It didn't update itself. Now this is another product. And the reason, the fundamental, I think, issue is that companies that are in industries, in those industries, are not those that come up with the innovation. And that's the disruption theory. And we're not going to go into that today. But unless the change is fundamentally different, it is not a transformation. So what is PMI? PMI is a very interesting organization. First of all, we are a not-for-profit organization. We are here to advance the thinking of our individuals who have an idea and you want to see a result. So 50 years ago, when PMI started, we were started by 5 individuals who said, we are doing all these projects and we need standard ways of working around these projects, so let's start an association. And if we're successful, we'll reach 1,000 people. That's how we started. Today, we reach 3 million people, 50 years later, and we're much more than projects, programs, portfolios, and I'll tell you a little bit more. And today, we're publishing thought leadership pieces around AI and the impact of AI on future of work, quotients that one could calculate. What is your technical quotient as an organization, as an individual? What are the capabilities you need to have, and so forth. And when we look at 3 years ago, what we had talked about, and today what we're doing is drastically different. So we are, as ourselves, in the middle of a major transformation. Now, I'm going to switch now and talk a little bit about the 7 tenets that I would like to share with you that I've learned from my personal experience as a management consultant and corporate leader, from the 3 years that I've spent at PMI doing our own transformation, and going to the world and talking to leaders and identifying what they are doing that we can learn from, and then coming back to our organization and contributing to our IP. So 3 different perspectives summarized in 7 tenets. Number 1, a transformation needs a why. Without the why, it's impossible to connect to individuals who are going to make it happen. The fundamental reason why you see the people adopting technologies is because they see why it is that they should actually use it. So we do. Most of the time, organizations come up with some idea or goal, but most of the time those goals don't connect to the people. And they are sometimes financial, sometimes maybe impossible to achieve, and the people in the ranks don't believe in it. And it's not something that they can resonate with, and they cannot identify with it, and they don't see the purpose. So it's very important to identify what is your purpose as an organization. What are you trying to do? Now, the second thing that's important, we need to sing the same song. It has to be the same thing, otherwise it's dissonance. It has to be, there needs to be an orchestrator, and everybody needs to know their role, and they need to play the same tunes. Otherwise, it won't work, right? It's easier said than done. And so you see here on the left-hand side of the chart, our new CEO. He came in, and he read our strategy, he read our transformation plan, and he said, I love it. I'm going to sign on to this, and I will talk about it everywhere I go. And now he's talking about it everywhere he goes. Everybody has started understanding what is it that we're doing. And the song started to become real for us. So you can ask anyone at PMI what we're doing. Everybody would tell you exactly what we're doing the same way as I would tell you, because it's clear.
I'm 36. I'm a husband, a manager, and still very good looking. In 2 hours, I have the most important meeting of my life. But first, it's time to play. The new Suzuki Vitara.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Number 3 is engaging your own people. There are many, I used to be a consultant, and there are many consultants that are really great, but we can't rely on them to deliver the transformation because they go away. We need to engage our own people to deliver the transformation. And to do that, the first pillars need to be there. So they need to have bought into the purpose, and they need to know the song that we're singing. Multiple things, right? So yes, purpose, yes, the song needs to be clear. But there's another thing that needs to be in there as well, which is empowerment and trust. And that is very critical because in most organizations, we know from surveys, and I'm sure you do surveys in your organizations, you will find that individuals are not engaged for the most part. They're looking at their jobs as something that they have to do, and then they go home and they have a private life. But when, as leaders, we allow individuals to fail, they start taking risks. And this is one of the agile principles. But it's very difficult to, as leaders, to accept that because we are working in our organizations that are built for effectiveness and efficiency, right? That's the unit measure, productivity. Now we're asking our individuals to take risks. Why would anybody do that? Their jobs may be at risk, right? So a lot of people don't do it. Even if you gave them permission, they don't do it. As leaders, one of the things that we've done is I've said to my teams and anybody who presented to me, and they were coming to me for decisions, I told them, I am not going to make a decision. I will support your decision, but you need to explain to me why you're making that decision and how it fits to our strategy. So don't ask me to make the decisions, because if I start making decisions, then I don't need you. Number 4, this is interesting. We started acting like venture capitalists at a not-for-profit organization called PMI. You can do that. So if we can do that, you can do that. So what does that mean? There are great things about Silicon Valley. Of course, risk-taking and ideas is one tool. But one thing that VCs do, other than funding, is they don't fund the whole way. They fund it in stages. So if somebody comes to us and says, I have this idea, and now we have an innovation, we're building PMI labs, we're making investments in startups and so forth, and all that happened over the last 9 months, we say, okay, pitch that idea to us and tell us, what are you going to deliver in 12 weeks? So we started thinking about 12-week increments. What is the customer going to see in 12 weeks with your idea? If you can provide a vision for that, we'll fund you for 12 weeks. And then you come back. That's how we work. So a lot of our thinking historically, and you may think that project management is all about many, many months of planning, many, many months or years of implementation. We have changed that internal to PMI. Now it's all about, in our world, what do you deliver in 12 weeks to the customer? What do you need to do that? And we'll give you that money, and then you have to come back and first prove that that idea actually works. And then we can give you more. And that's how we do it. And it's extremely powerful when you do it. So to do all this, you need to build a culture of unlearning. And of course, relearning. But unlearning first of all the ways how the organization works today. Because in every organization, there are many meetings with a lot of people in the room, and somebody will come up with an idea, and somebody will say, yes, but, or, well, we don't really do that here. Or we do it a little bit different here. You have to go talk to marketing. They would not let you do this. Or brand will say this. So a lot of ideas get killed. So this unlearning of that behavior is extremely important. So rather than but, we're using and rather than having meetings with 20 people, we actually reduced the meetings and team sizes significantly to sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6, and said, you can make a decision. All you have to do is inform and don't break rules and government and laws and things of that nature, but you can make a lot of decisions. And that's part of the unlearning, which gets me to one of the best quotes that I've heard, and it was very impactful when I listened to it. It came from Dick Costolo. He's the former CEO of Twitter. He's the guy who took Twitter from $1 million to $1 billion. And he made this presentation to us at one of our PMI events last year. And he said, organizations, for the most part, think about their legacy. But what they really need to do is understand the legacy, but protect the future. what do you need to do to protect the future? The legacy is done. You are responsible for the future. And it's very difficult to do that in organizations that are 50-year-old, 20-year-old more, because we think that we have a lot of legacy and that we have to respect, which is true, we need to respect it. But that legacy is not going to make our future. So we need to unattach it ourselves sometimes from it, and really, and that's why I put number one, what's the purpose? Really attach to our purpose and restate our purpose in the sense of what it is today and in the future, and look at the future and not the past. So that's the transition that every organization needs to make. The last one is a little bit self-serving, but it is very true. We say organize around projects, and we're not just about projects, we're about strategy execution, but we like the unit of value delivery, and that unit of value delivery in many cases is a project. So what does that mean, organize around projects? Isn't that obvious? Well, it isn't, actually. We are seeing a major shift in the market, and that shift requires organizations to rethink how they think about delivering value to their customers. Most organizations today have a role and a job which attaches to a desk and a person. But in reality, if you look at how organizations deliver the value, they deliver value around projects. So with temporary assignments, with temporary goals and outcomes attached to a project, you have many people, and their role is doing that project right. Not what it says in their job description, right? Because that ties them to a silo, marketing, finance, but their value delivery is a project. But why are organizations not organized that way then, right? So we took that, and now what we do at PMI is we organize around projects. We have very clearly laid out what is we call it value tree. What is our value tree that attaches to a customer result? And how do every project clearly contribute to that value result? Of course, we have programs, portfolios, etc., products. And we actually took the people out of their jobs, and we said, you are now 100% dedicated to doing this. And people said, wait a second, is my job gone when this project is done? We said, no, don't worry about the job. You deliver this, and there will be more, because we're in constant transformation. So we're changing that, and we're actually going to be talking a lot about it, because we are in a project economy. All of us are in the project economy today, and that we need to change how we are structured as organizations. So to summarize, these are simple statements that are very difficult to do, but there is really 7 of them. If you do these right, you're going to achieve a lot. And I haven't really talked about digital or technology that much. I talked a lot about people, teams, and individuals, because at the end of the day, it's the people, teams, and our organizations are all about that deliver anything that is of value to our societies. So if we follow these, change some of the practices that we do, I think we can be more successful than looking at the digital transformation as an adoption of a technology. It's all about the people.
We are back with another exciting, innovative, and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life surrounds art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
As we contemplate the theme, Agile Leadership for Digital Transformation, the subtext of what we are really saying or asking is, what do we have to tackle today to make tomorrow? In the case of climate, today we have to tackle rising temperature to prevent the continued complex shifts affecting our planet's weather and climate systems, manifesting in rising average temperatures, extreme weather events, rising seas, and a range of other impacts. As we embrace agility in leadership as what's needed for the digital transformation, we sometimes forget how uncharted this new digital world remains, and that it is a work in progress, and that it is people who are at the center of the digital transformation. The speaker ahead of me pointed to that. So as we think about agile leadership for digital transformation this morning, I believe all business leaders still have to answer some critical questions that Peter Drucker asked some 40 years ago, and he asked 5 critical questions. The first one is, what is your mission? He said, your mission statement should not explain what you do, but rather why you do what you do. The second question is, who is your customer? And I know we're transitioning to the digital world, but these are still very basic questions that we have to take with us into that world. Who's your customer? He said, you must find out who your customer is and then organize all of your efforts towards meeting their needs and bringing them value, even as you transform digitally. The next question, what does your customer value? And he said this question is probably the most important. The key is that it can only truly be answered by your customer themselves. So you must know what your customers want and need. And what are your results is the next question. You must be able to measure your results in both qualitative and quantitative terms. You must not only know what your results are, but you must have a standard for evaluating them. And finally, what is your plan? Your plan should include your mission statement, action steps, and a way to evaluate your results. And if you can't summarize those points, then you don't have a plan to achieve your goals. Make the transformation to the digital world all you want. Just don't forget that it is the people who are at the center of the digital transformation.
It's certainly a pleasure to be here with my co-worker, Dr. Silburn Clark Silburn. Our brief presentation provides more insights from ongoing research at Mona School of Business and Management on the digital transformation imperative. Last year, we reported from the research that few Jamaican firms had declared a digital agenda. And we also reported that the 2018 World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report, and you know Mona School collects the Jamaican data for that. This report indicated that Jamaica's economic growth is being severely constrained by low levels of ICT adoption, low levels of exports, and low innovation capability. You've heard from Murat and certainly the minister, and they make the point that whereas digital transformation is crucial, It is fundamentally about people. Our discussion seeks to answer one fundamental question. What should be done to lead digital transformation towards Vision 2030 Jamaica? Our Executive Director, Dr. David McBean, and the Minister just now has made it clear that digital transformation is not the goal. And we all know that we have a mere 10 years left to achieve Vision 2030. You know, and as the Minister just said, that Vision 2030 seeks to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. And you also know that although we've made progress, the progress is slow. In fact, the Minister has just said that a key part of making good progress is to measure the outcome that we want. And so we have always said at Mona School of Business and Management that the place of choice in this statement needs to be measured explicitly to direct collective effort towards the goal of Vision 2030. Indeed, when you look at the World Economic Forum's report on competitiveness, the top 20 countries in the world have a global competitiveness score of above 77% as the last year. And they're not staying still, 77%. Jamaica scored 58%. And despite improving by 0.5%, we fell one place from 78 out of 140 countries to 79. We know from the report that innovation is at the heart of where we need to improve. The report makes it clear that innovation is especially critical as a driver of productivity, growth, and value creation. And the report defines innovation as the generation and conversion of ideas and inventions into saleable goods and services. So it doesn't just stop with research and development. It's generating value from it. There is good news in that a recent survey, global survey conducted by Deloitte, revealed that a large majority of companies across the world are not ready to renew their business models or embrace the technologies associated with the fourth industrial revolution. And what this means is that if we can step up our game, we have an opportunity to boost our competitiveness towards Vision 2030, somewhat ahead of the pack. However, it requires all hands on deck. It's not just about government. It's also about the private sector and every other stakeholder.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Our women are the backbone of our society. They deserve to be protected and respected. Domestic violence is not okay. Speak up and speak out. No more violence against women.
So the University of the West Indies, as you know, builds itself on teaching, research, and outreach. The outreach component means we need to find the connection with our communities around. We're built on a AAA access strategy, so it's access, alignment, and agility. Alignment is perhaps the one that's at play here today, where the research and the teaching of the university needs to align itself with public and private sector so that we can get the right questions and the right answers to the right places. It's very important. The university could do all the research it wishes. If it doesn't get that research into the hands of the decision makers or those who are making the plans for the country, then we may not be doing the best for our country. So we want to focus that by taking the research to the places that need the research done. We would like the UWI to become the research engine of every business that wants research done. Rather than create their own research and development platforms, why not ask the University of the West Indies, can we do the research on their behalf? So for me, this is a fantastic opportunity to meet the public and private sector, to offer what the university has in terms of research so they can lean on us and we can get the questions that they want.
In terms of digital itself, we have even announced that we're going digital. Simple thing like in business cards, we stopped printing those. People don't do expense accounts using paper anymore. So we're literally living what we're talking about. And we're making the company agile. We're doing everything digital now. Most of our communication to our consumers is on social media, which is a shift from when I started back then when we only had JBC and the Gleaner. So even current day marketers have to be agile, using the same concepts and discipline, but understanding different ways of reaching the consumers, because the consumers now consume media in a different way. We're preparing students that are going to be able to adapt to the new world. It makes no sense training somebody who in 5 years become redundant. If you think about it, 10 years ago, access to even social media wasn't as pervasive. So therefore it has to be the sort of student who understands the concepts, can adapt, and can learn quickly. And that's where we want to be. Even the way that we teach will have to be looked at. We have to think about, do we build more block and seal buildings, or do we build more social platforms that we can attract students from anywhere in the world, rather than in a classroom at Mona?
As we move further and further into imparting knowledge to the market, especially the financial market, we have to look at how effectively or efficiently we can do it. And one way is to engage with digital technology. You might know that for the stock exchange, in the 1990s, we had issues with how our market was perceived in terms of transparency, in terms of just effectiveness. And what we had to do was to employ technology to ensure that information, data, is properly stored, is properly used in order to effect transactions across the market. And we did that by introducing the Central Securities Depository. Then we moved on, coupled with that, to the trading platform, moving from an outcry to using technology and the digital age to ensure that there was transparency and ease of doing business in the marketplace.
We spoke a lot about what agile leadership means, and I talked about 7 tenets about agile leadership. And to summarize it, it really boils down to people. We talk a lot about disruption, a lot about technology, but one thing that this technology and disruption has common is that it democratizes for everyone and gives access to anyone with a good idea to make that idea a reality. And I think that's the fundamental takeaway. It's all about people, it's all about ideas, and how do you get that done? And I think when you take that principle and think about next 10 years, we're looking at the 2030 where someone who can compete individually with an organization can actually do that, because technology is going to be extremely cheap and available to anybody in the world. That's the democratization part of technology. So technology will be very pervasive, and for those individuals that can understand and know how to use it, it's going to make them a competitor to an organization with large assets. And that's, I think, very important for Jamaica to think about what that means. Because Jamaica is obviously a country with a lot of investments and income coming from tourism, less about exports and less about technology. But now, if you think about the next 10 years, you have an opportunity to leapfrog. Because if you invest, for example, in the education and training of the individuals that can take the technology and use it to make something concrete and a result happen, I think Jamaica can make a huge progress over the next 10 years and really compete with the giants of the world. Because when we think about 2030, we're going to be looking at much smaller entities that are creative and can get to a result, and irrespective of where they are, as long as they're connected to the cloud and the internet, and at this point everybody is connected, you can compete with anyone in the world. So I think strategically, I would invest in innovation and training and education of the next generation. Invest in people with ideas and allow them to learn and advance and find how they can actually take an idea and bring it to reality. So the skill sets that are needed for that is creativity, digital fluency, being able to work with technologies, and project management is a major one, and of course we advocate for it because the project discipline is all about how do I take an idea and bring it to result as fast as possible. So those, and then critical thinking, of course, the fifth level. So if Jamaica invests in that over the next 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, I think that will become a huge asset for the country to be more competitive in the global space.
How does one move from the idea to actualization in a place like Jamaica?
Excellent question. So for an entrepreneur to compete in the global space, one now has the ability to tap into those big platforms that exist. So for example, Alibaba, Amazon, Etsy, there are so many platforms. So you don't have to recreate that. All you have to create is what is my value proposition using those platforms and really focus on that, right? As an entrepreneur, the opportunity is how do I organize myself to be participant of those platforms, and how do I then connect the value that I can deliver through those platforms to global customer base using the resources that I have available to me in Jamaica. If an entrepreneur focuses just on that question and starts creatively brainstorming, I think the answers will come, and that's all they have to do. I think what is really important to consider is we need to believe in ourselves and we need to invest in ourselves, because none of us have learned this in school. When I graduated, frankly, I'm going to age myself, I'm 48. It's many, many years ago, and nobody taught me the skills that I have today to be able to compete in today's world. So similarly, one takeaway is how do I invest in myself? And the resources are vast. The resources that organizations such as PMI provides is very, very cheap, sometimes free. There are other resources like Khan Academy, etc. So use those resources and educate yourself and invest in yourself. That's the fundamental competitive advantage that one can create for him or herself in this world.
I wanted to be an educator because I believe that education is the most powerful weapon that can change the world.
My dreams and aspiration is to one day become an entrepreneur where I can employ other persons and help to build the country.
I wanted to go into development. I wanted to help people become better versions of themselves. Growing up, I saw a lot of violence, I saw a lot of crime, I saw a lot of poverty. The challenges are so many. The first one that comes to mind is the level of youth unemployment that's here.
Challenges that exist here in West Prospect Bogwalk are lack of awareness for educational opportunities or job opportunities.
Not many got the chance to do CXC or graduate from the secondary level. So that's a major setback for the people living in the community.
A way to alleviate this issue is training programs. They need more opportunities, like to go back to school to get themselves a certificate so they can be able to work and create employment for themselves and their family.
Push more entrepreneurship opportunity, encourage these youths to be creative and innovative in what they do. Give them startup capital to start their business. Invest more in the youth skills and talents.
The Poverty Reduction Program is funded by the European Union, and it really is a program that focuses on the most vulnerable type of communities, making communities safer, making citizens more healthy, better access to education.
For European Union, investing in youth is an obvious choice. They are the future of the country. If we prepare them well, they will bring the change that Jamaica needs. That's why we invest in scholarships, internship, training in life skills and mentorship.
I received a tertiary scholarship from PRP to attend the University of Technology, Jamaica. It meant a lot to me because I realized that somebody else believed in me and somebody saw the potential that I have and somebody believed that I could actually achieve my goals.
I benefited by getting firstly an internship, and also they assisted my bachelor's degree financially. But critically, outside of the finances, the persons that were on the project, you know, the motivation that they provided, etc., it really provided a huge boost.
This is my third year at the MICO. This scholarship, it helped me to be able to focus only on my education here, because tertiary education is not cheap.
I was placed at ODPEM on the one-year internship program. It was really good. It was an opportunity for me to prove myself, to give myself a service, and also to gain experience in the working world, and to also provide for my family.
I plan to be an agent of change in my community by being a mentor, a leader, and a godfather for the youths growing up. Try to help them teach them a trade.
You don't have to be rich to help. You don't have to achieve greatness to start. I contributed to my basic school by providing them with the necessary resources that they need, that I believe that in the long run, it will have a ripple effect on many, many persons.
Professionally, I manage the whole program, which is aimed at giving young persons the opportunity to, you know, do what I did, basically, to get their foot inside an organization. Additionally, I also have a little small business that I try to employ young persons to learn a skill, etc.
When you're persistent in life, when you're determined, when you're hungry for success, then you'll be able to accomplish and achieve anything that you want.
It has changed hundreds and hundreds of lives. Not just my life, my family lives, my friends' lives, etc. I want to just urge everyone looking on to continue these social programs. These are the solutions to the many ills that we face as a society and as a country and even as a world. So thank you, and I challenge you, continue it. It's needed.
On Point is brought to you by Crow Jamaica.
A very good evening and welcome to On Point. I'm your host, Patria K.
And I'm Dennis Chung.
And we've got a lot to talk about. Lots of things happening this week, Dennis, in Jamaica. Top of your list?
Well, top of my list right now is the attack in Saudi Arabia and the significant increase in oil prices, because I think that is going to have an impact, at least short term, globally. and our number one imported item is oil.
And certainly the oil conversation having other relevance here in Jamaica, the announcement by the Ministry of Energy that it will be subsuming the PCJ, questions being asked about the future of its subsidies.
Yeah, I think it's a good move.
Yes? What does that mean for Petrojam?
Petrojam still continues.
As a standalone entity, does it now become subsumed in the Ministry of Science?
I would think as a standalone entity. I think one of the things that we missed is that the minister had said that PCJ, one of the things they did is they bought the fuel, mark it up, and then sell it to Petrojam, which means it's marked up twice. So if you get rid of PCJ, you can't take out a little of that.
People then ask questions. If Petrojam is going to stand alone, Petrojam is the one that needs the governance more than any other entity. And if it is that Big Brother Ministry of Science and Technology is going to step in and kind of take a closer look, that kind of forensic look, and hold the hand of what happens at the parent company, why would you then leave the scandal-riddled? Why would you then leave the cash-rich Petrojam out there on its own?
Well, I mean, you can have the oversight, I think that the oversight should have been there. I think that what happened initially was that there was just a lack of proper management of it, but the structure was there. What they have to do is just put a good board in place, put good management in place, and I think the place will run properly.
The story that we can't ignore as well, the lightning strike.
Yes.
That happened at the football match. One of those stories where Mother Nature, you can't control.
Yeah, but I don't understand. It happened. This is something that happened in the past already, with the Manning Cup matches, and I don't understand why the protocol was not there and someone was not there to ensure that these things are looked out for.
Well, what remains unclear, rainball is allowable in the matches. What usually obtains, though, is the moment that there is the first bolt of lightning that the match is supposed to end.
And you have a thing called weather forecast spreadsheet that you can use.
I don't know whether or not they can tell you about thunder and lightning, but the question is, was that the first bolt of lightning? Was the match stopped when it ought to have? And those are the kinds of investigations that ISA must carry out going forward. Well, folks, it's a tight show. We've got a lot to talk about this week. We're starting off by taking a look at the conversation surrounding the cockpit country. That conversation has heated up in the past couple of weeks. Environmentalists versus commercial entities, the opposition versus the government. What is the future of bauxite mining in the cockpit country?
And later on in the show, we'll look at Kingston booming real estate market. But before we do that, let's take a look back at some of the top business stories of the week.
At number 5, drone attacks on 2 of Saudi Arabia's key oil plants sent oil prices through the roof this week. Saudi Arabia said it held Iran directly responsible for the attack. This saw the immediate escalation of tensions in the Persian Gulf amid a standoff between the United States and Iran. At number 4, Haiti came to a standstill on Monday with no public means of transport available. Banks, government offices and schools were closed amid protests over a fuel crisis in the country's capital, Port-au-Prince. Protesters demanded that the government resolve the fuel crisis, which had lasted for over 3 weeks. The government owes fuel suppliers about $100 million in past payments, and so suppliers have refused to deliver petroleum products. At number 3, Jamaica has fallen 7 places in the latest edition of the Travel and Competitiveness Report. The country is now ranked at 76th out of 140 nations. The Travel and Competitiveness Index measures Jamaica's overall appeal as a tourism destination, along with the ease with which locals and foreigners travel in and out of the island. At number 2, amid concerns about slowing global growth and trade wars, the U.S. Central Bank has cut interest rates. The Federal Reserve lowered the target range for its key interest rate by 25 basis points to between 1.75% and 2%. However, officials were divided about the rate cut and over the need for future cuts. 7 members of the Federal Reserve Open Markets Committee, which sets the rates, voted in favor of Wednesday's cut. 2 members wanted to hold the rate steady, while 1 wanted to cut further. And at number 1 this week, the Jamaican government forked out some $1.2 billion to buy back a portion of the country's foreign debt. The buyback offer tendered by the government was worth $3 billion. In addition to the buyback offer, the government also floated a new bond which raked in $815 million. Both transactions formed part of a refinancing plan aimed at replacing expensive external bonds with cheaper debt.
When we come back, mining in the cockpit country, where exactly are the boundaries? We'll talk about it on the other side of the break.
Taking the pain out of the audit preparation. Crow Jamaica now offers audit management services, AMS. With AMS, Crow team manages your external audit process by providing the following. 1. Prepare and review schedules for your external auditors. 2. Prepare responses to your external audit team queries. 3. Assign our team members to locate supporting documents during field work. 4. Draft financial statements in accordance with IFRS to supply to your external auditors. 5. Provide guidance to your internal accounting staff regarding classification and recording of transactions. 6. Review your general ledger for accuracy. 7. Prepare necessary journal entries. 8. Prepare fixed asset register. 9. Prepare accounting and operational manual for effective internal control. 10. Liaise with the company external auditors. We work with your team to achieve timely and effective external audits, resulting in timely completion of your audited financial statement, while your current staff focuses on their daily activities. Contact us, info@crowhorwath.com.jm. Website, www.crow.com/jm.
Welcome back to On Point. Now, this matter of mining in the cockpit country has been a hot button topic, but those discussions have intensified over the past few weeks. Take a look.
The Holness Administration and the Noranda Bauxite Company are adamant that there is no mining taking place inside the protected boundaries of the cockpit country. But environmentalists and Jamaica's political opposition aren't buying it. The environmentalists are contending that mining should not be allowed in the adjoining sections of the cockpit country protected area. They say from an environmental perspective, bauxite mining is not sustainable, nor is it good for the environment. Meanwhile, Noranda Bauxite is insisting that there is no bauxite mining taking place in the protected areas of the cockpit country. The St. Anne-based bauxite company says there have been rumors that it is seeking to mine heritage areas such as Maroon Town and Accompong, but those claims are totally unfounded. The company argues that in order to maintain needed bauxite reserves for its long-term sustainability, it has applied for permission to mine an area outside of the protected area described as Special Mining Lease 173. In the meantime, the opposition People's National Party journeyed to the cockpit country this week to have its own consultation with stakeholders there. The move saw opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips meeting with Noranda bauxite workers who expressed their fear that the opposition's advocacy may see the plant being closed and them being left unemployed. The cockpit country mining pushback culminated this week with a march on Parliament by activists who say their aim is to protect the area.
Joining us now are Sustainable Development Specialist Robert Carr and David Wong King, Director of Strategic Planning at Noranda Bauxite Company. Welcome to On Point, gentlemen.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Let me perhaps start with you, Robert. Articulate the challenge that you have with where things are now with regards to mining in the cockpit country.
I think that there is a kind of bottom line that the residents and the people who live in the area and persons concerned with development understand. That bottom line is the services that the cockpit country provides for Middle Jamaica I would say it's the #1 shield against disaster impact because it controls this high altitude water. It's also the area where our genetic resources are unique and special. And we understand that between people and nature, those two things are the greatest multipliers of wealth. So there's a bottom line. We want to make sure those services of water management and water regulation, carbon sequestration, that's carbon, containing the carbon from our atmosphere, those are critical functions. In addition, people live there. People live and survive from the land. The last time we had a big separation of people from land, it wasn't good, and it brought us to this side of the world.
When was that?
Slavery.
Oh, that's a long time ago, man.
People will live in it now. So, to cut a long story short, the bottom line is that the cockpit country, as described by its own character, it's a cast limestone area. You don't border it, it borders itself, right? And so those services is what people are saying need to be maintained. There is a disagreement about the boundary.
Yes.
To be responsible, you have to decide if you have a core area, what do you need to make sure you manage those services?
But what changed? Because when the boundaries were in fact announced by the Prime Minister, there was a round of applause. People were happy, there was cheering.
Including
environmentalists.
environmentalists.
Months later, and people are no longer happy, there is displeasure. What changed within those
The
months?
big change was that the boundary that the stakeholders and the scientists proposed incorporates the communities, the protected area incorporates the communities, and it incorporates that land characteristic and the services that it provides. Now, the boundary which was announced by the government is an area much smaller, and it excludes areas that people live in and are parts of the cockpit country, areas that carry out that service.
I want to introduce David in the conversation at this point because we're hearing about a boundary seemingly that was agreed upon through consultation, and according to Robert, a smaller geographical area that was, or larger, I'm not sure, geographical area of protected area, a smaller protected area that would have been announced by the Prime Minister. Is that how you recall it?
No. My understanding of the situation is that for decades, the country has grappled with where the protected area ought to be. And in that discussion, several boundaries had been proposed, as much as 11, I understand. Some by stakeholders, some by the University of the West Indies, others by environmentalists.
Did Naranda have a say?
No. Naranda would not have been a participant in where the boundaries ought to be. Jamaica Bauxite Institute would have represented the bauxite and alumina interest. And their boundary, I think, had been the smallest for the protected area. So the government consulted widely. They took into consideration all the boundaries. They held meetings. They consulted with scientists. And then they came up with a boundary that they thought would be a good balance between the environmental concerns and the economic.
And Robert, I want to talk to you about that because I was a part of those consultations because I was at the PSOG at the time.
Okay.
And we did call for the government to define the boundaries. And I know that consultations took place widely. So my question to you then is, weren't the environmentalists involved in the consultation at the time? And then I don't understand now if you agree then, why disagree now?
Well, I'm of the same mind as you. It is my understanding that the environmentalists were in fact involved and did in fact agree on the boundary.
Okay, no, we have to
Let's set the record straight. Absolutely.
Let's set the record straight. The stakeholders recommended several years ago what the boundaries were, based on their discussion with the community people, based on their scientific investigation. That boundary includes areas northern, northeastern, central, and it includes, it's clear they have presented a boundary, which they did so on the basis of the services and the fact that people live in those areas. You can't be mining where people live. It was a much larger boundary, right? They put a boundary that would allow for management of the services that the cockpit country provided. What was announced was as a protected area,
right,
was a much smaller area, and adjacent to it, immediately separated only by a road, was a mining lease. No, I am 25 years involved in protected area management. When we do a protected area, it is a process that looks at all its interests, stakeholders, and we have to put a buffer area.
Yeah, but Robert, I'm not disputing that. You know what I'm saying is that I cannot understand why there was an agreement.
No, there wasn't.
I'm telling you, because I was involved in the process. And I know when an agreement
with boundary here, no?
Of course.
With the boundary,
of course.
What I'm hearing is that the boundary that was announced
presented a boundary.
That was agreed.
They presented a boundary several years ago, which is the boundary that they are arguing now, and they presented a boundary based on the factual knowledge of what is karst limestone.
So
what has been announced is different from what they have supported.
If it was announced a few months ago, and nothing, and nobody said anything.
No, that's why? No, immediately it was announced. People said that cannot work. So we have to get the facts straight. The boundary, what the people presented several years, not recently, you know.
Yes.
And even the university boundaries, these were larger areas because they know that you can't mine here and have a protected area. The breeze, you can't tell the breeze where to blow the dust, and you can't manage that on the water system. You need a large. We did the Blue and Jonquil Mountains National Park. The buffer area is several kilometers.
So let me talk about the reality of bauxite in other locations that might support what we're hearing.
But I don't agree with what has been said.
And perhaps you cannot disagree by answering my question. If we look at what's happening in Maine, the people of Maine, the residents are talking about chronic issues, health issues, respiratory issues. The bauxite company there is having to shell out money to be able to pay medical bills for the people who live in the community. These are things that they are not able to control. Does that Maine experience give credence to what you're hearing our environmentalists say or protection specialists?
Why is it that you say that these are things that are not capable of being controlled?
Well, it's not being controlled in Maine.
It's not being controlled, but that's not to say it cannot be controlled. So yes, mining has some adverse consequences. No question about that. You can't avoid that, right? The country has to decide whether it wants a mining industry or not. If it wants a mining industry, some adverse consequences will follow. We mitigate against them as best we can. We're not always successful, as might be the case in Maine. Second thing is, to your specific input, do not compare Noranda bauxite with a refinery. Right. Noranda does not refine bauxite. We use no caustic soda, for instance. So one of the misinformations in the public domain is that Noranda has contaminated the water and the land with caustic. We don't use caustic. We're not a refinery.
Nobody said that.
It's in the public domain, Robert. It's in the public domain.
They're not arguing that.
Why are we haggling over the square footage of protected area? Would it matter to Noranda if that protected area geographic domain was increased? Would it matter significantly to your bottom line?
Yes.
Tell me how.
Absolutely. One of the things that is consequential on the existing protected area, the 75,000 hectares of land that now comprise the protected area, is that it sterilizes over 260 million tons of bauxite. That's 40 years of mining. Okay? The wider you make that boundary is the less bauxite that you have to mine. You will not hear the bauxite companies argue that 260 million tons of bauxite has been sterilized. You won't hear that because the government has made a decision and the bauxite companies abide by it. We don't quarrel over it. Of course we would want more bauxite, but if the government says, hey, this is what you have because it's in the best interest of the country, We understand that.
So if you give them the protected area that they want, this project is no longer profitable or attractive to Noranda?
It may not be viable. And the issue is, you have induced people to invest money based on what you say they have the ability to mine. No. You've given them an area with a certain amount of bauxite.
So therefore, Robert
has a clear choice.
Yeah, but Robert, I'm coming to that choice when I ask this question now. All right? I have always believed that, and I'm playing devil's advocate with you, right? That one of the greatest negative impacts on the environment is poverty. We see what happened in Haiti, right? We see what happened with Goat Island, right?
You're wrong about that, though.
What, poverty is not a negative impact?
You're wrong. You said the greatest negative impact.
I said one of the greatest negative impacts.
Well, I will tell you, when you destroy the water management system in the middle of Jamaica, remember I'm talking about 40 rivers and streams and outlet, 40% of the island's water system, right? You can't tell me that if you understand how the cockpit works, once you start to open up the forest and change the humidity, change the environment completely. Secondly, the water systems are going to be impacted by mining because they're mining in the Abconic Depression, they're mining between the hills. That is the water system.
So you're saying that
permanent generational damage.
You're saying that the government and their technocrats don't know what they're doing when they define the boundaries.
No,
they're a set of incompetent people up there.
No, it's not about knowledge. Many years ago, when they were doing the ponds, the Red Mud Lake, they knew that if you don't line the bottom, it's going to travel into your water system. Hold on a little. Understand the point. It's about the choice that some companies make, right? Are you going to put people's well-being and interest first? Or are you going to put your capital investment
Are you
first?
calling the government greedy?
Right? I'm just describing to you that many people have been negatively impacted by the operations of bauxite.
Yeah, but what
mining.
I'm saying, Robert,
Hold on,
the answer I want
point.
from you. Are you saying they're incompetent or they're greedy?
No.
The government?
There are other choices. Before I go to malice or anything, right? I'm saying that the interests of the people are not being put first. That is what I'm saying. I'm saying, so I can't say the government is greedy.
Because they're greedy.
I don't want to use that word. That would be your word.
Which word you prefer?
I need to respond to this.
Yes, and I need to hear. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that the government is not putting the interests of the people first when they do
I need to respond to this. Go ahead. I need to respond to this. Basil Fernandez, well recognized as the foremost
water resource
expert in the island, has declared that 50 years of bauxite mining has had no adverse effect on flow or quality of water.
That's not true. I have documentation. I did a South Coast Master Plan, and one of the problems, Kirkvine water travel from Mandeville almost to the south of Clarendon. We know. That is why they now have to seal the thing. Then there are people who have respiratory problems. Then you go to the meeting, people show you they have to put cancerous things out in the neck because of the effect of these things.
How do we strike the balance? Are you open to bauxite mining anywhere in the parish?
You see, you have to be very responsible. If you have a water system that is decisive for the future of the country, and you have a system of topsoil that is critical for production in the middle of the island. Remember now, you have a lot of industries on the coast now, all them tourist industries on the north and agriculture on the south.
And so I get the objection. What I want to understand is, are you open to bauxite mining anywhere?
I'm going to answer you now. For you, if your bottom line is to preserve those services, right, then you have to do the scientific work to say what is required to make sure.
But they have done that.
Stop a little. Is to do the scientific requirements to show what is required.
So that has not been done?
For protected area management, no.
So therefore, you're saying that if it has been done, what you're saying is that the government was and their technocrats were incompetent in what they did.
Irresponsible. I'll give you an example. You can't issue a special mining lease 1733 and your EIA has not been done. To me, that is reckless and irresponsible.
EIA?
Environmental Impact Assessment. Okay. That was not done. There's a process where you do that, and then the stakeholders have a
David,
chance.
But you're saying it was done.
You're shaking your head and
This
saying
is
no. Tell me.
ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
It's not done.
The SML bylaw certainly can be issued. What cannot happen is you cannot mine until the EIA has been done and approved by NEPA.
So
that is to come.
That is the
No,
that
but
is the process.
to me that prejudices
We
the
take
case.
that on.
You take
don't
that on.
issue.
Yes.
You
So-
don't issue a lease until you should not. Because NEPA stopped. Remember, it's not only that NEPA stopped the mining activity. Am I wrong or am I right?
You're wrong.
They didn't issue a stop order?
You're wrong.
What did they do?
We have not begun mining in SML 173.
No, what did they issue a stop order on NEPA?
I don't know that.
Let me go down the road of this environmental assessment. Let us say you do this environmental assessment, which I have a difficulty with because you have no...
You have an interest.
You have an interest. You have a vested interest in the economic activity and making this thing happen. What assurances do the people of Jamaica have that your disclosure will be full and complete and in the best interest of the nation?
You have NEPA, who is a regulatory body.
So they review.
They review and mandate what you have to do.
No, that's not everything.
That's what
but
they
there
do.
is to be a
So what
public-
Robert is saying is he has no confidence in the government that they've done the scientific work. He has no confidence in
No.
NEPA that they will regulate properly. That's what
please
he's
don't
saying.
put words in my mouth.
what you're
What
saying,
I
Robert.
said is in terms of a protected area management, we have not seen presented what are the requirements to sustainably manage the area. For example, if that was done, you couldn't use a road as a buffer zone between mining. You can't be mining on one side of the road
Is
and
your
then you have a
protest
protected area on the other
premature?
side.
Perhaps you should wait. What if you wait for this environmental assessment and the plans?
Wait
assess
in terms
those.
of what?
I'm saying perhaps the protest action at this point is premature because if they are mandated to do an environmental assessment that is to be monitored and managed by NEPA, would you be comfortable if the plans that are put in front of you take into consideration the future watershed issues, the future supply of...
But they've already determined where 173 is.
Yes.
And if you put mining there, it's going to destroy the service.
Anywhere in there.
Robert, let me ask
That
you this.
173.
Robert, let me
Mining is happening in the cockpit, you know.
Robert, let me
From
ask, let me
2015.
ask it this way. Let me ask it this way. You said that the government, in your words, is irresponsible in the way they have defined the boundary, right? And the process.
The process.
Right?
The
So let me
process.
ask you now. You said that it's going to cause a problem. What is the basis of your opinion then?
Okay. The functions, the services that we get from the cockpit.
You did a scientific study.
Right? The services that we get from it. It's been well documented, right? And he knows the information.
No,
the
I don't.
Services,
I don't. Don't presume that.
No, you.
I go by science and I go.
That's what I'm saying.
I
The
go,
reports. There have been several studies.
Which
University
report? Which
and so
report?
the Dale Weber report, and then there are several
Dale
documents.
Weber's report says that the environmentalists agreed to the boundaries.
No.
That's what Dale Weber's
No,
report
well, you
says.
can say that, but it wasn't agreed to, and it's a different boundary from what they have.
So you're conveniently agreeing with Dale Weber on some things and disagreeing with him on others.
I'm agreeing with him on the points that it has to do in terms of the functions and services that cockpit country.
But
Remember, let me finish.
but
please.
as David said, does he have points in there that you disagree with in the report?
No, but that's.
No, I'm asking because I want to know if you agree with half right and disagree with
No,
the
I'm
other
telling
half.
you the points that are important. When you have a protected area, right, the services that we're talking about has to be tied to the terrain, the topography of the area. There's a certain topography. You know where the cockpit country is based on the topography, right? And the services are tied to the topography. So when you put mining lease adjacent and into the inside of that topography, you're going to have an impact on the water system. That's just how it is. So the people secondly, you
Yeah,
can
but
disagree.
Robert, I'm asking what's the basis of that? What's the basis of that? Because if you're going to say that government has been irresponsible and not competent,
I give you an example of what was irresponsible.
What is the basis? Is there a report that we can go to?
Yes, you can go to
scientifically done?
all the hydrological.
What's the name
I'll
of
give
the
you an
report?
example. There's a report that was done which showed you all the hydrological points in it.
By who?
It's in the forest. It's in the forest report. It's in Dale Weber's report. It shows you.
That's not what the National Water Resources people are saying.
It shows you. I'm not discussing this. I'm telling you what's on the map. It shows you all the caves and all the water systems, and many of them are outside of what is proposed as a boundary. Now, if you understand the Cockpit Cove, I'll give you an example. Quashie River sink, or Dornoch Head in this case, is the source of the Rio Beno. That is going to be impacted by the mining.
No. Dornoch is outside of the CCPA.
No, allow him.
But it is not within the mining lease.
Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying that the areas that are being mined drain into Dornoch. From Fremont, all of that area there drains into the Dornoch. You see, what happened in the high altitude area have all of these drainages, Black River, Martha Rio Beno, right? They connect from the center to the coast. If you impact those channels that have been defined by millions of years of flow, right? What is going to happen? You could be caught in disaster.
What happens if you don't stick to the environmental protections that you ought to? What if he's right and we see bleed in some of our river waters?
We are constantly monitoring.
You can't correct.
When you mine,
you can't correct.
Robert's comments are largely emotional, and I understand that. We have to deal with science, and we have to deal with science, not because we want to bulldoze down the place, but this country needs the jobs and the revenue that bauxite produces.
But we need water, and it's already
So
short.
let me go further. There are 13 riverheads. All 13 are within the CCPA. All
Protected
13
area.
are within the protected area. Not one is outside.
Those are the heads of the river.
Yeah,
What
Dornoch
of the rest
is outside
of the river?
It's groundwater. There's no river. There's no surface river anywhere in the mining lease. Neither 165 or 173. There is no surface
I'll
water.
give you the last word.
Hang on.
Okay, all right, no, and I don't want to allow you. Yes.
Hang on.
Groundwater?
50 years of mining. Basil Fernandez says there is no evidence that the water has been either qualitatively or quantitatively affected. Reynolds mined above the Duns River. No evidence. So I don't know, other than an emotional task. I don't know where the scientific
The people who live in these areas will tell you that they have lost water quality. They can't build in some areas. No, remember, the area that is proposed in 173, people live there, These are communities, long-established communities. Plus, you're going into maroon territory. People live there, so what are you going to do with these people?
Bauxite has a history of relocating people, though.
But what happens to when you move somebody from their land, separate them from the land, you put them into an area where they can't produce. These lands no longer can produce. In fact, right now, this is not a money issue, because right now there's a 1.9 billion annual exemption under the bauxite levy. Why is that money not coming to us? How you can do it in a country where you don't have beds in the hospital and so on?
This discussion certainly needs a part two. Gentlemen, we thank you for your time. Robert Carr, David Wankin, thank you very much for talking.
You're most welcome.
We take a break, folks. When we come back, it's more on point.
Dodge & Global Marketing Strategy Consulting. Marketing isn't a department, it's a system. Having an integrated and cohesive marketing plan allows each marketing technique to support the others, thereby creating a synergy of branding and growth for your business. Dodge & Global can assist you in making smart decisions with lasting value in regard to the following key decisions. Determine if there is a paying market for your products and services. Craft long-term and short-term marketing goals. Define marketing campaigns. Create marketing strategies. Select powerful marketing techniques to reach your audience. Choose a brand and image that reflects your core message. Design marketing materials. Design internet marketing strategies. Track marketing results to determine the strongest techniques. Because it's so important to create an integrated marketing strategy that will bring in business Get advice and mentoring from people who are already successful marketing experts. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Welcome back to On Point. Forget house and land, apartments, that's where it's at. But is there an oversupply of apartments in Kingston? Take a look at some of the more recent developments.
The face of Kingston and St. Andrew is changing. That declaration came from Prime Minister Andrew Holness last October as he opened the brand new 10-story apartment complex called 20 South. The apartment is near Halfway Tree in St. Andrew, and the government says it fits seamlessly into the administration's plan to change the corporate area's skyline. At 10 stories high, 20 South is the tallest residential complex in St. Andrew. But there are already requests from developers to build high-rises up to 20 stories. Few months after 20 South was opened, the Guardian Group forked out $4 billion to invest in its own apartment complex called the Cambridge, which has 176 units. The Cambridge is being developed on 3 acres of Guardian Life's property on Musgrave Avenue and is located in the prime residential area on the outskirts of the Golden Triangle. Ground was broken in March 2019, and by mid-April, half the units were already sold. It's not only private developers who are contributing to reshaping the Kingston and St. Andrew skyline. The NHT is also involved. The Ruthven Towers apartment complex, which is being built by the trust, has already racked up a bill of over $5 billion. When completed, the complex is expected to have some 238 units.
Joining us now to talk about trends in the real estate market is Realtor and past president of the Realtors Association, Edwin Wint. Eddie.
Sir Wint, good to see you.
Yeah, man, good to see you.
It must be really good to be you right now with all the developments going up. Realtor is the dream job at this point, no?
Don't listen to all the rumors you hear.
but it's good, right? It's good.
The market is buoyant, yes.
But let's talk a little bit about the actual pricing of some of the things that you're seeing. Are they value for money right now? Are they overpriced?
Okay, the market is wide, 14 parishes. So if we're talking about corporate area and you want to narrow it down, you do have some good value for money. But some of the new builds are priced at a bit of a premium. One has to be discerning and look at it carefully.
Let's talk about where the value is right now. If I'm supposed to find a property in Kingston that's a steal, that's a good buy, what would that look like?
That would look like maybe something over 10 years old, maybe a townhouse in an area that's maybe not as well sought after right now, but it's still a good, stable location. And you're still finding properties that have immediate equity in it.
And you have that kind of inventory on the market now?
You do have a few, but they're very scarce.
But Eddie, there's still a significant demand at the lower to lower middle income because we've had a significant shortage over the years.
Yes.
So I mean, what you might find is that a lot of the people who were first-time owners, they're now trying to step up, and then people are trying to fill that bottom slot.
That's true.
But on that vein, what does that mean? Poor people shouldn't live in Kingston. At some point, we're not going to have any housing in Kingston that's going to be affordable to middle-income, poor people.
Well, that's for the government to answer. But the private sector developers are responding to the market, but the land price predicts where you can build what. Right. And so they're finding that they have to move out of the central areas in order to get the land price, which can afford the selling prices. So you're talking Old Harbour and moving out St. Catherine's side.
I have to push back on that point. I have to push back on that point because plots of land that traditionally were single-family dwellings, maybe double. Yes? One of those Meadowbrook houses that have a small side and big yard space. A lot of those developments, a lot of those houses are being turned into multiple unit developments, 4 stories high, 30 units. A developer can recover the cost of that land if he's able to do something affordable on that, no?
Well, what is happening is that they're bidding up the prices now. Now that the Provisional Development Order has increased the densities, so there is more competition in the market for the available lots.
Repeat what you just said. There's now a mandate to increase density?
There is a change in there's a Provisional Development Order. And in that Provisional Development Order, some of the densities most of the densities in the corporate area have been increased.
The allowable
densities have increased.
So whereas at one point, say 5 years ago, you couldn't put a 30-unit apartment complex on one of these single-unit lots.
Legally.
Legally.
But you can do it legally
now.
now.
You can.
Yes, in principle, yes.
But Eddie, there's something wrong with that, you know. I mean, my view is that if you go to cities like Tokyo, you know, Hong Kong, New York, even New York, right? You're going to find that within the more prime areas, you're going to have these high-rise buildings, right? And the rooms are, and the places are very small. The challenge one of the challenges that we have, right, is that we have failed to develop the highway to move out of the town. So it makes it look like a bother for people to get into Kingston. But I mean, there's nothing really wrong with that because 60% of the population live here anyway, so you expect demand to go up, isn't that so?
Yeah, in principle, yes.
So people are moving away from wanting a yard and somewhere for the dog to run and 2 mango trees in the back to go for apartment.
But I don't think it's not people don't want a yard, you know, Patria. It's just that people can't afford it.
I want to. That's what they're trying to figure out.
Well, what they're doing is moving out of the corporate area to get that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're going to find more of that happening.
And you find that happens in major cities also.
Correct.
I mean, in New York, for example, you know, come back to that. You know, there's a concentration of high-rise buildings and, you know, that sort of thing. If you want a yard space, you move out.
Let's go back to that price matter. Who can afford some of these listings? I mean, you look through the real estate listings, you know, ads in the paper, or you go on a website, go on the MLS. You see a matchbox, and the price for that matchbox, you're thinking, surely nobody can afford this. And then you go back and you see it sold. Who is affording these luxury apartments?
A cross-section of people. You have regular hardworking people who are moving up on the property ladder, selling something.
Like a kidney?
And moving up. Pardon?
Like a kidney?
Not sure I understand.
Selling something like a kidney.
Oh.
Because what would you sell to be able to afford the price point at which some of these are being sold
what
for?
You're doing is you're selling, maybe you might have cleared the mortgage or a substantial amount of the mortgage. And so you're getting a certain amount of principal to put deposit on the new one.
So you're benefiting from the appreciation in the real estate market with your existing property.
That's correct.
Fair.
And also, you're more joint purchasing.
Right.
So accessing the NHT benefits and pooling together to make these investments. Auntie and Granny, you know, from who is in foreign, all pitching in. So it's a mixture of people that buy.
On that matter, the NHT though, did you notice in your experience that when the changes were made to the limits of the NHT, that sort of helped the market to get more active?
Yeah, there was an uptick. There was an uptick in the market. There was also an uptick in values in that range. Because 6.5 times 2, 13, so you found that anything that was valued maybe at around 10 to 11.
Went to 13.
Moved to 13. That's just how the market moves.
And let's talk about those numbers because the interest rates are doing a great thing. There's apparently this race to the bottom. We can all recall when we had double-digit interest rates for housing. Now we're down to as low as what?
6.99.
In commercial banks.
Yes.
But as the interest rate is coming down, the prices are going up.
Yes.
Are we still able to achieve that balancing act where a modest salary for even two people can find housing in Kingston City, in the capital?
Right. What they have to be doing is changing their expectation. So they can't afford what they would have wanted to before, but they're finding something else in the market that they can afford.
Or going outside of Kingston.
Going outside of Kingston.
And with the highways being developed now.
That's correct.
I mean, like for example, look at an area like Caymanas. Caymanas, a beautiful scheme, and the demand is there. I mean, that's where a lot of people would love to live. Lots have yard space. And
lots of developments also going up in Old Harbour. People are hitting the highway.
And there are lots of plans for more housing in the Caymanas area.
Let me ask, can we take more? And I particularly have a difficulty with the infrastructure side. Water. NHWMA can collect more garbage from all of these townhouses that are going up.
Well,
are we able to keep up from the infrastructure side with all of this high density, intense, multi-story living?
Well, that's what we have a government for, to make these kind of plans, forward planning, to ensure that everything is in sync. You'll find that, speaking of infrastructure, the road improvements that's stated, which will commence going on the St. Thomas side.
Right.
That's going to drive another opening up of opportunities, because when it reduces the commute time and the wear and tear in your vehicle to get there, that's where the action is going to be in the next 2 years.
And there's a lot of undeveloped land out to that area.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Where do you see the next 5 years in real estate? What's going to be hot? So you talk about St. Thomas. Is real estate still going to be a best bet for your investment dollar 5 years from now?
Well, the realtor will tell you that real estate will always be the best investment. And I'll just go back maybe 10, 11 years when you had the meltdown in the US property market, and we never had that experience. So our market is fairly resilient, our economy is fairly resilient, regardless of how bad it gets. You'll probably have a slowdown, but certainly not to the point where prices start dropping and you get a negative equity in your investment.
That will never happen.
No, I never said never.
And this is what I'm asking.
Yes.
This is a reality in some US states, where you might buy a house today and sell it in 5 years for less than you bought it for. You just take the best amount that you can possibly find. With the increasing Jamaican real estate price, do we run the risk of bottoming out on the price of these apartments and getting to a place where people say, I will not pay that anymore, and we start having to sell for less than we bought for?
Depends on what you bought for. Right. And you should know when you're buying to use your realtor and to get your comparative analysis to know what's happening in the market, and don't go for above what the market should be.
But right now people are paying more than valuation.
Well, I think that's the point you're making, that a lot of people buy based on emotions, and if you don't go to your realtor, then you don't get the
But purely out of desperation, if you know you want to live in Kingston 6, people are willing to pay more than the valuator comes back and says, this thing is really worth X. But because the inventory is small or extremely pricey, people are paying more than valuation amount.
Okay, and that's risk. So you're willing to take the risk and you do it.
But the other thing though, Eddie, I mean, I hear that there's a difficulty selling things at the high end, the very high end. But the low end, where the demand, we still have a lot of unfulfilled demand. And I think that's why the real estate market didn't take a hit like the US. But the other thing I want you to think about, when I did some comparisons the other day, even when people said that prices were going up, in US dollar terms, they were the same thing.
Well, I was gonna answer your question about that, to say sometime in real terms, especially because we do valuations as well.
Yes.
So we have found that if a property was valued in US, maybe said 8 years ago, in some locations, and because of the movement of the exchange rate, I've seen where when they're ready to sell, they have to sell for less than the amount in the US at the time. But in J-dollar equivalent, they'll be making a fortune.
Right.
I take it back.
So,
the realtors aren't the ones who are making the bring stroke of money. It's the developers we hear a conversation that those are the ones who are making supernormal profits. Are they taking home a wad of cash? Can they can they sell for cheaper?
That's a difficult question because it comes back to how efficient, and you start from the land cost. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes they overbid in expectation for the land. In fact, sometimes they land bank. And so they buy it for 5-10 years in advance.
And hold it.
Mm-hmm. But there's a cost for holding, and so they want to recoup for that. Because if you wait until you need it, you won't have any. So some of them land bank, and so they have to, in order to keep that supply chain going, they have to do some creative things as well.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yes.
Well, thank you for talking to us. There's a lot more for us to figure out with this real estate market. Yeah. You know more than we do. We take a break. When we come back, we continue the conversation right here on Point.
Crow Jamaica Risk Management Services, RMS. Risk management has become indispensable to a company's business operations and management strategy in this complex environment nowadays. Crow Jamaica risk management experts help to turn every risk into an opportunity. We are experienced in providing customized solutions to manage risks and increase transparency and accountability of the companies. Our core services include internal audit, internal control review, corporate governance, corporate compliance, etc. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email people@crowjm.com, website www.crowjm.com.
Welcome back to On Point. The Cockpit Country is home to much of Jamaica's endemic flora and fauna. It's also the source of much of our water. Take a look at the numbers.
According to the Water Resources Authority, 28% of Jamaica's safe water is from the Cockpit Country, along with 31% of unused water resources. Over 150 plant species have been identified in the Cockpit Country, of which 101 are endemic to the area. There are over 500 species of ferns in the Cockpit Country, more than any other rainforest in the tropics. Approximately 550 species of land snails have been identified in Jamaica thus far, with most occurring in the Cockpit Country. The Cockpit Country features 27 of the 28 known remaining endemic bird species in Jamaica and 79 of the 100 total species identified on the island. At least 94 of Jamaica's 125 butterflies are found in the Cockpit Country, including all endemics. There are 2 butterfly species endemic to the Cockpit Country. The area represents the last refuge for the 18 species of native frogs on the island. All 7 species of snake in Jamaica are found in the Cockpit Country.
And our On Point team hit the streets and asks, do you think any mining should take place in the Cockpit Country?
I don't think so, because we really need the trees to get more rainfall in our country, and I believe cutting down the trees will stop all of that.
Well, if there's anything that we can make out of it, don't want to go into reserve part of it, but if there's anything that will be available to us, yes, I think so.
No, I totally don't agree. One is the watershed conservation area. I don't think there is enough control or parameters set to sustain and prevent contamination. Evidence is in St. Elizabeth, where persons currently living there are having health issues. I don't think the financial benefits outweigh the natural resources or the benefit to the human resources either.
If it's beneficial to the economy and if it doesn't bother any surrounding communities, that would cause a problem in the future?
Hell no! Simple as that. Allow the people them place. See what I say? Either that or you do all that you need to do that the feasibility study about it, everything. Go in and speak to the community. Can't go in at the people in place just now, man, and dig out. When you dig it out and you don't dig it out, nothing more can grow there, you know. I know people know that. So anywhere that you mine, nothing else can grow there after when you're done. So what you gonna do with the people in place? No, man, it need more. We need more investigation. It need more. Have to be more knowledgeable in making them this decision. There, draw back that license there where whoever have it. That for draw back, man. And make we examine the thing good, man. Come on, man.
As far as I understand, it's not going on in the cockpit country. You have boundaries for mining, so therefore it provides jobs for people. So I don't see why it should not happen.
I don't think I'm adequately informed as to the ramifications of doing such thing. I know mining is very important to Jamaica with foreign exchange, etc. But if there are designated areas for mining, then why not? But the government and the experts would have to give you a good answer. The regular Joe like me on the road, I don't think it's wise to say yes or no without being properly informed.
No, I don't think any mining should be done in the cockpit country because it can deplete the natural habitats of some of the faunas and birds that found nowhere else in the world. So that's the reason I don't think any mining should be done there.
No, I don't think mining should be done in the cockpit country, but the better question based on the conversation, is it really the cockpit country? That is really the argument, from what I've been hearing. Is it really the cockpit country? If it is, no. If it is not, then why not?
Corporate restructuring services. In today's evolving commercial and economic environment, businesses are continually seeking opportunities to manage operating costs and tax positions, as well as contain cash expenditures. Entity structuring can help achieve these goals, but often presents many challenges for multinational corporations. In addition, the OECD's Base Erosion and Profit Shifting (BEPS) proposals are expected to impact the bottom line of affected organizations and result in some business restructuring. Crow Jamaica delivers an integrated approach to clients' corporate and reorganization needs. Services include simplifying group structures, executing domestic and cross-border transactions including mergers, demergers, disposals, and company migrations, transferring assets and business units, aligning legal structures to business models, establishing national or regional hubs, converting subsidiary company structures to branch structures and vice versa, integrating legal structures following a merger or acquisition, providing practical advice and assistance throughout the planning, development, and implementation phases of corporate reorganizations. Crow Jamaica assists businesses and other advisors in developing and implementing efficient, cost-effective legal structures and business operating models. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email people@crowjm.com. Website www.crowjm.com.
Boy, Dennis, that bauxite conversation is frustrating but important.
Yeah. It's important, but you know, I mean, the government has done their study, right? David mentioned the whole thing about Basil Fernandez and what he said. And I get where the environmentalists are coming from, but what they also need to come with is some scientific evidence to counter what has been done. Because unless you do that, then you're really just going to have this he said, she said thing going on.
Absolutely. And I mean, bauxite has had a long history.
Yeah.
You hear 50 years, a 50-year history in Jamaica, and there are other families